Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto received more than will of fire from Hashirama. What if it was something tangible with the blood of Shodai running through his veins? What changes will come to the Naruto verse? Before we start, don't forget to give a like and subscribe to this channel for more what ifs, and check the description for creator of this great fanfic. So let us start. Disclaimer. I do not own Naruto. Chapter 27. Beginning of the end. I got this one, said a hawk-masked Anbu as his hand sparked with lightning. The Anbu took off as he pierced through the back of a man where his heart was. With a scoff, the Anbu dropped the man to the ground before ending his technique. As that happened, a toad-masked Anbu watching the scene heard a voice in his head. How is that an assassination technique? Questioned Kurama in Gamma's head. The noise it makes should make him a dead giveaway. Heard that, said Gamma replying to the large fox. He stood in his mindscape shaking his head. I wouldn't get caught by something like that. I'm not a genin. You fight like a genin, replied Kurama as he and Gamma both pointed at each other comically for the quip. Gamma then performed a shunshin and bit his thumb. Why the hell did I just do that with him? When did that even start? Thought Kurama as he couldn't believe that he still did that with Naruto. The two began berating each other in that way a while ago, which was always followed by them pointing at each other simultaneously during any clever ones. It seemed Kurama and Naruto were now friends. We are not friends. He is a Jinchuriki and I am a Biju. We are amicable. But we aren't friends. Kuchio's summoning, thought Gamma as he placed a hand down next to the body of their target. A blue toad appeared in a puff of smoke as it proceeded to swallow the man and then dispel himself. And that is how it's done, said Taka, Hawk, as Gamma nodded. Gamma and Taka then began to leave the hotel their mission was in and proceeded to head back to Konoha. Leaping through trees, Gamma began to make conversation with his partner. You really don't stop, do you? You were on that mission with Orochimaru for 3 years and not even 2 weeks later, you're back doing a mission again, said Gamma as Taka shrugged. You really are a robot, aren't you? No, I'm just good at what I do. Plus, I can't get rusty, said Taka before getting something straight with Gamma. By the way, just because you're an Anbu captain now does not make you my leader. Gamma stopped on a treetop causing Taka to stop and turn to look at him. I think that it kinda does. Not to mention that I've done nearly 300 plus missions. Which means I have experience over you, not just rank. I've done an S-rank mission. A real S-rank mission, unlike you. And all the missions I did en route cancel out that experience thing you have on me. Don't forget that I am the fastest promoted Jonin in the history of Konoha, mission count wise. PSSSHHH, it's only because Ba-chan asked me and Jiraiya sensei if she should. It'd be weird to have a Chunin do an S-rank mission and not get promoted to Jonin, said Gamma as he added. Plus, I had to save your fast promoted Jonin ass on that S-rank mission. We could find out who's better now, said Taka as lightning began to spark around his left hand. A Rasengan spawned to life in Gamma's right hand as the two Anbu ran toward each other. Several hours later, Konoha. Well, good job you two, said Tsunade after getting Gamma's debriefing from their mission. You have taken out one of the most notorious gangs in the country. Including its leader whose bounty is in your checks. Just doing our job, Hokage-sama. Are we dismissed? One more thing. 64 shinobi, mostly genin with a few chunin and one jonin. Shouldn't have been a problem, and your report claims that you took out all of them without them knowing about it. Plus, you two are some of the strongest ninjas in Konoha, maybe even the world. Gamma and Taka shared a fist bump at that acknowledgement. With that said, please explain to me why you look like you've been in a war. Gamma had singe marks on his clothing with several burn mark wounds that, despite their healed state, looked as if he was hit by lightning from Tsunade's medical viewpoint. Gamma was also missing the upper right side of his Anbu mask. Taka looked no better as he had a light spiral mark on his stomach that eerily looked like a wound mark of a Rasengan that didn't fully catch its target. Not to mention the tree leaves stuck on him and the marks on his arms that looked as if a tree branch constricted him. Gamma looked at Taka, who looked back at Gamma before they both looked at Tsunade. Well, you see, what had happened was, started Gamma before being cut off by Taka. We plead silence until tried by a jury. Tsunade shook her head with a smile. You are both dismissed, said Tsunade as the two Anbu disappeared to their homes. Naruto's apartment. Naruto arrived at his apartment in a shunshin as he walked in. Upon walking in, Naruto noticed Yugito sitting on his couch reading. Naruto smiled at Yugito happily as he looked at his girlfriend. Yugito was reading with a mild blush on her face which ended upon hearing a camera shutter. Yugito's blush deepened upon seeing Naruto standing at the doorway with a camera in his hand that printed out a photo of her reading. It wasn't that she was reading a book, it was what book she was reading that was picture-taking worthy. "My sweet Yugi-chan is reading Ika Ika?" questioned Naruto as he grabbed the picture from his camera and began shaking it to cool it down so it could be viewed. "I thought you didn't like Jiraiya-sensei's books." It's not what it looks like," stammered Yugito as she closed the book and tossed it out of sight into Naruto's room. "Okay, you caught me. I only read it because you left it out and I just so happened to skim the first line." Naruto grinned as Yugito blew a stray hair out of her face. Yaruto and Nugito. I mean really, he couldn't at least come up with more original names. Great, right. That's the rough draft though. It hasn't been published yet so those names won't stay. Yugito quirked an eyebrow as Naruto shrugged. His process I guess. Keeps the names to remember the inspiration. Sensei wanted me to let him know whether it was good or not. I didn't get the chance to read it yet but seeing how you have, you can let me know. Well, it's definitely good. Creepy how accurate it is. In chapter 3, he has our first time in it. Down to near perfect detail. You didn't tell him, did you? Of course I didn't tell him. I did tell Gamakichi though, said Naruto before adding. Maybe he questioned Gamakichi. He's the only one, outside you or me, that he could have gotten it from. Wait, said Yugito standing up and looking at Naruto. You told a toad about our first time. Really? That's kind of depressing that you really had no one else to tell. Is it? I could have told someone else. Kurama already knew about it. Well, most of it. He shuts the connection down when I bring up personal stuff usually. Naruto then began to think about other people he could have gossiped with. There's Kiba but, you really want me to have told Kiba? Lee couldn't keep it a secret nor would his innocent ears be able to handle it. Then you have Sakura-chan, Neji, Ino-chan, Hinata-chan, and Gaara. No to all of them for varying reasons. Yugito agreed as Naruto kept going. Tsunade Bakken would tease me. Shizune-chan would tell Bakken so the same result. Jiraiya-sensei wrote a book to share with the world about it. Kakashi-sensei is Jiraiya-sensei's biggest customer so, no. This leaves Gamakichi who is a very close friend and my second choice as a best man behind Sasuke. Well, what about Sasuke? Questioned Yugito as she noticed Naruto left him out of it. I told him. I had to let him know that I beat him. And he didn't tell Jiraiya because he was with Orochimaru, said Naruto as he puffed his chest out a bit after claiming he beat Sasuke in having sex. But, I never told Jiraiya-sensei. He just knew apparently. Talking about his senses were tingling and got Gamakichi to spill the beans to him. From what Gamakichi said it was pretty gruesome torture. Well, tell Jiraiya the book is well written. Though, I don't have E-cup-sized boobies, said Yugito looking down at her chest. No, you don't. Ika always exaggerates for the perverts, said Naruto before appearing in front of the Nibi Jinchuriki. But don't be so down. Your boobies are by far my favorite. Really? I thought all guys believed in the bigger the better. We do. Well, at least most guys. However, I can touch yours. And that makes them better than anybody else's because they come with the rest of your pretty little self. Yugito smiled at Naruto before licking her lips. I think, we should add another chapter to Jiraiya's book. Right now. Naruto grinned as Yugito moved in and peppered his neck with kisses. Naruto closed his eyes in enjoyment allowing Yugito to take the lead. Yugito continued to kiss Naruto as she began to undress him. Removing his shirt, Yugito kissed Naruto on the lips again before moving down his chest and stomach with more kisses. Yugito reached Naruto's pants and began to unbuckle them. Pulling the button loose, Yugito smiled and licked her lips before she heard an alarm sound out. Naruto grunted in disappointment before stopping Yugito and bringing her back to a stand. I'm sorry Yugi-chan. I want to, but maybe later. I have a mission to do, said Naruto as he looked at the clock in his room. Right about now. Want to come? You'll be of great help. What are we doing? Asked Yugito after Naruto walked into his room to change into another Anbu uniform. Yugito then smiled giddily as she couldn't wait to do another mission. She'd been doing nothing since moving to Konoha with Naruto. May as well get back into the flow of things, mission-wise. Even if they are for Konoha's benefit. Naruto-kun is likely the next Hokage, and if we're still together, that means I'll be here permanently. Yugito's thoughts ended as Naruto walked back into the room. As for what we're doing, you'll see, said Naruto as he made Yugito get dressed in the all-black outfit she wore when they went to rescue Gaara. I just hope that he continues along with this. We'll definitely need his help. Naruto smiled at Yugito as she came out of the room fully dressed and with her face mask up past her nose, only showing her ponytail and eyes. Naruto's smile widened when he noticed a black snake enter his room. Placing on his mask, Naruto tapped Yugito on the shoulder as they vanished in a shunshin. Hokage Tower, sitting at her desk, Tsunade was looking over her last sheet of paperwork. That piece of paper was actually an S-rank mission. Tsunade stared at it as she looked up to see a poof of smoke occur. Appearing from that poof of smoke was Kakashi. You called? Questioned Kakashi as he read from his Ika Ika book. Kakashi noticed the mission paper in Tsunade's hand and guessed it was for him. An S rank. I thought you wanted me to keep an eye on Danzo for another few days. Yes and yes. But, this mission is not for you. Naruto is already handling it, said Tsunade as she put the paper down and looked at Kakashi. I called you here because I'd like an update on Danzo. It seems Danzo is feeling the pressure and getting antsy. I believe he is bound to try something soon, said Kakashi as he added. All of his root shinobi are back. Perfect. Phase 2 of Naruto's plan is coming together as expected, said Tsunade as Kakashi looked at her questioningly. Phase 2. I thought his plan was over. He scared Danzo and now he's on our side of things, right? You really think Danzo would give up like that? You just said it looks like he's up to something. So, Naruto's plan didn't end with scaring Danzo, said Tsunade as she smirked at Kakashi. How long do you think it would take if I were to recall all the Anbu at our disposal? All of them. 2 weeks, at the most. Correct. And it has been 2 weeks since Sasuke came back, right? Kakashi nodded his head as Tsunade continued. Danzo is scared. Scared that something will happen to him based on what Sasuke was and who Naruto is. And if something were to happen, you'd want all of your ninjas there to protect you. Oh, I see where this is going, said Kakashi as his lone eye widened slightly. That means Naruto and Sasuke are going to, let's go see for ourselves, shall we, said Tsunade with a smile on her face. Tsunade walked out of her office as Kakashi just stood there still shocked about what he heard. Naruto plans to end Danzo and Root tonight. And I wonder why he didn't even let me know about this. I could have been of help. Maybe I am getting old, thought Kakashi before shrugging his shoulders and bringing his book back up to his face. Oh well. I'm not going to complain. Gives me more time to read this unpublished Ika Ika book. Yaruto and Nugito, huh. I'll have to thank Jiraiya-sama for letting me get one of the first copies. Kakashi giggled to himself as he walked out to follow Tsunade. Under Konoha, Root Base, a man sat upon a throne-like chair as he looked out over the balcony he was on. Situated in front of him were close to 350 ninjas, all wearing black cloaks and plain white masks. Jumping up next to him were 2 shinobi wearing identical uniforms except with beige cloaks and no mask. The first ninja had orange hair tied into a ponytail while the other had short spiky black hair and black goggles that covered his face down to just below his nose. Danzo-sama, all of the Root personnel are accounted for. Thank you, Fu. And you too, Torun, said Danzo before standing and addressing the ninjas gathered before him. We have a problem. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki needs to be neutralized. Why Danzo? I thought our goal was to keep Konoha safe. Harming the Kyuubi Jinchuriki would directly go against that by eliminating one of its more powerful protectors, said one of the ninjas with black cloaks as he cut off Danzo. Danzo looked shocked that one of his shinobi voiced out to him and without adding, Sama, to the end of his name when addressing him. But one of his shinobi wouldn't go against him like that or speak out of place in such a way. Who are you? Questioned Danzo eyeing the ninja suspiciously. The ninja stood up and removed his mask to show his face which had 2 very familiar red eyes. Danzo never noticed that Fu had his hands in the snake seal. Uchiha Sasuke, you are bold for coming here. And you are bold for staying here. You had to know your actions wouldn't be tolerated, said Sasuke as Danzo motioned with his hand for his shinobi to capture him. However, none of them moved. I believe you're familiar with the Mangekyo Sharingan. All of the root shinobi surrounding Sasuke disappeared as they turned into hawks that flew at Danzo. Danzo stood unnerved by the annoying birds before they disappeared into the darkness of the room. The underground compound they were in shifted into an inverted plane as Sasuke now stood a few feet from Danzo. Tsukiyomi, Moon Reader. Seems you've gotten better at using it. However, it is still not as good as Itachi's. You're right. It is not as good as Itachi's. Unlike Itachi, I have a friend with the nine-tailed fox in his body. As much as it dislikes people with my blood, it hates you more and decided to help me just this once. Behind Sasuke, an ominous growl was heard. Two large, red-slit eyes opened behind Sasuke before the silhouette of the nine tails formed and stood menacingly. This is just genjutsu. Why isn't Shisui's eye working? Thought Danzo as he couldn't break Sasuke's jutsu. Sasuke's eyes aren't stronger than Shisui's. They can't be. Are you sure you still have Shisui's eye? Questioned Sasuke as Danzo felt blood dripping down his face. The elder shinobi's blood went cold realizing the hidden eye was missing. Or even the Sharingan that Orochimaru implanted into your arm. I was with him for 3 years, I know all about the experiments he conducted on you. Danzo looked down with his lone eye as he was missing his right arm as well. Actual pain. This isn't an illusion. My eye and arm are both gone, thought Danzo as fear crept into his heart. A feeling he hadn't felt in years. How did all of this happen? How did you remove them without me knowing? Questioned Danzo as he began to back up seeing the Kyuubi move toward him. Danzo stopped backing up as he hit a person. Turning around, Danzo saw Gamma. Taking off the mask, Naruto decided to answer Danzo's question. Moku Bunshin's wood clones sure can fool people, huh? That wasn't Fu or Torun beside you. It was me and a clone, said Naruto as he added. And it seems I was right about your arm. Kurama and I could feel my forefather's cells in you since we first bumped into you at the hospital. And your eye and arm were easy to get. Not difficult at all when a guy is in one of the strongest genjutsu in history and being restricted by chakra-suppressing Mokudan. You didn't even notice it wrapping around you before looking into Sasuke's eyes. In a different world, I would have respected you, Danzo. Your leadership, training, and above all, your love for the village makes you a man I'd likely have admired. However, you thought greedily of yourself. Danzo turned to see Sasuke's eyes glowing ominously. Turning children into soldiers that follow your orders above the Hokage. Stealing Sharingan from deceased Uchiha clan members. Desecrating a grave to gather our first Hokage's DNA. All of that added to your dealings in the past and the fact you attempted to kill me, I have lost all respect for you. Whatever comes to you will be too good. And you know how this genjutsu works, right? Questioned Naruto as Kurama grabbed Danzo and held him painfully tight. You will be tortured for 120 hours by Kurama here. Let's see how long you can last. Danzo saw both Sasuke and Naruto disappear and looked to see Kurama grinning at him. Real-world Naruto and Sasuke stood on the balcony of the underground compound as they looked at the unconscious Danzo. Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan stopped spinning as Naruto removed the hand on his back, having funneled Kurama's chakra into him to help with the genjutsu. Well, that appears to be over, said Naruto as his clone held out a jar containing a Sharingan eye. The same eye that was in Danzo's right eye socket. I believe you should have this. Sasuke clutched his right eye for a second as the after effects of using Tsukuyomi hit him. Sasuke stopped clutching his eye as his normal Sharingan spun back to life from his Mangekyo. Thank you, said Sasuke as he grabbed the jar from Naruto before placing it in his ninja pouch. 120 hours. Did you really have to tell him that? Well, I know it only lasted 120 minutes, but how would he know that? Questioned Naruto, picking up Danzo and placing him on his shoulder. What about the root ninjas? Questioned Sasuke as he looked out over the balcony. Trapped in a large purple barrier was all of Danzo's shinobi. In the barrier with them was Yugito in her full Biju mode. They had a choice. Turn their allegiance over to Konoha and the Hokage or go against Yugi-chan, said Naruto as he smiled. Most of them are pretty smart, the others were dealt with. It really is thanks to one of them though, he helped in finding this place while also getting most of the root Anbu to see things Konoha's way and not Danzo's way. And the great thing for them is they'll actually be integrated into Konoha's Anbu. Still separate but as a legit Anbu Ops division. Danzo may have a twisted way about going through with things, but he definitely gave way to great ninjas. They are all Chunin or better, at least. Sasuke nodded his head before he looked up to see two figures coming down. Did you tell him yet? Asked Tsunade, jumping on the balcony beside the two Anbu. Seeing Naruto shake his head no, Tsunade smiled at Sasuke as Kakashi landed behind her. Excellent, this means I get to be the one to tell him then. Tell me what? Questioned Sasuke as the purple barrier surrounding the ninjas vanished and all of Naruto's clones dispelled themselves. Yugito jumped up on the balcony beside Naruto, who smacked her on the butt. Good game, said Naruto, cutting off Tsunade's announcement. Good game? Questioned Tsunade before just leaving it alone and turning back to Sasuke. You've been promoted. You are Konoha's first official root captain. Sasuke's eyes widened as he looked out over the root ninjas now bowing towards him. One of the ninjas stood up and removed his mask. He was a pale shinobi with black eyes and short black hair. Sasuke senpai. Or should I say, Sasuke Taicho? Questioned the pale shinobi as he smiled up at the group of five. Sai, you did all of this? Questioned Sasuke as Sai nodded and continued to smile. Sasuke's eyes pierced into Sai's memories to get a view of Sai's role in all of this. I see. Ever since Danzo attempted to let me die by Orochimaru's hands, you've been working with Tsunade and Naruto. Leading us here and allowing others to see what life could be like. Good job. Of course. Though I was only a catalyst. Danzo's recent actions towards you and the Jinchuriki were unfitting of what he taught us. I just used your example and the others followed suit, said Sai, who continued to smile, seeing how he believed he should feel happy at this point. And only a smile could express that physically in his eyes. Creepy. Thought all the shinobi looking at Sai's smile. What did Danzo do to them? Asked Kurama in Naruto's head as the Jinchuriki just shook his head. I mean, look at that. It's the worst smile I've ever seen. No wonder most of them wanted to be set free. Heard that. Let's get out of here, thought Naruto as he turned to Tsunade. Ba-chan. Tsunade snapped out of looking at Sai's eerie smile before handing out instructions to those around her. Right, let's see. Naruto and Yugito-chan, can you please take Danzo to Inoichi? Said Tsunade as Naruto nodded his head and shifted Danzo for a speedy trip. He knows you'll be arriving shortly and he'll handle things from there. Good job on the mission and everything, by the way. Just doing the necessary, said Naruto as Yugito wrapped an arm around his waist and they were gone in a shunshin. Tsunade nodded her head before turning to Kakashi. Kakashi, you can do whatever you want, said Tsunade as Kakashi lowered his book with a raised eyebrow. Tsunade let out a sigh. Within the limits of the law. Kakashi raised his book back up. Roger that. I should have just left before you could add that last part, said Kakashi as he turned around. Yane. Seeing Kakashi disappear in a puff of smoke. Tsunade turned to Sasuke. And finally, Sasuke. Being that you're the new root captain and highest member of the root Anbu, I need all of these shinobi accounted for. All of them. Yes, all of them. I need to know their skill set and a general view of their experience. I leave that up to you, said Tsunade before walking up the wall of the underground base to leave. Make sure to have that on my desk at 8 a.m. sharp. Hokage-sama, it's 2 a.m. now. This will take at least half a day. Oh, right. How about when you can make it then? I need to get my beauty rest, said Tsunade as Sasuke nodded his head and Tsunade left the underground base. Sasuke knew that Tsunade had a meeting at 7 a.m. with the advisors and would be getting woken up by her assistant, Shizune. Shizune knew nothing of these dealings with Danzo and as such wouldn't know to not wake her. I'll let her be surprised, thought Sasuke as he found a clipboard with paper on it. Sasuke then looked out over the balcony before letting out a sigh. 288 shinobi. May as well get on with it. Sasuke popped a squat as he figured there was no time like the present. Alright, who's first? Several days later, it had been 5 days since the impeaching of Danzo took place. No one in Konoha knew of the secret activity besides those that were there that night in Konoha's council. The council grew outraged at Tsunade's brash decision, but Tsunade reminded the two that she was Hokage and that was the end of the discussion. Danzo's execution was handled with extreme caution and done unknowingly to the Konoha populace. Danzo was never a regular face in Konoha, so his disappearance would go unseen and unheard of by anyone who didn't know him personally. Despite Danzo's actions, Naruto still lobbied for him to be buried by his best friend and rival, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Tsunade agreed and even added his name to the memorial stone. Danzo's greed and selfishness were bad, but his love for Konoha was definitely top 5 of any shinobi in the village's history. No one could deny that. But that was in the past, and Naruto was a Jonin of Konoha and Anbu captain. He had missions to attend to. And for that reason, Yugito found herself waking up alone this morning. Yugito's eyes opened wearily before she let out a yawn that sounded more like a purr. Naruto-kun is gone again, thought Yugito as she stood and headed to the bathroom to handle her morning duties. Walking out of the bathroom, Yugito let out a sigh. I was hoping to go with him on a mission. I feel so out of practice. Well, that's not true, kitten, came the serene voice of Yugito's Biju. You definitely beat down on those rude Anbu. And they were top-notch. If anything, you're stronger. Yugito nodded her head to Nibi as she laid out some clothes. Yeah, that's right, I guess. It's just I haven't done a real mission in almost a month. I haven't even heard much from Kumo since either. This is getting depressing kind of, thought Yugito in reply, and she stepped in the shower. Nibi waited a few minutes to allow Yugito time to cleanse herself. That is true. But then again, you may have jinxed yourself, said the Nibi as Yugito turned the water off and stepped out of the shower. Grabbing a towel, Yugito began to dry off. I hope so. I'm tired of just being here. I need some action, thought Yugito as she walked out of the bathroom. In walking out of the bathroom, Yugito noticed Naruto standing in the room looking at her with a smile on his face. Not the kind of action I was talking about, but it's definitely better. Hi Yugi-chan, said Naruto with a grin before he walked over to her. Naruto leaned in for a kiss that Yugito was happy to give. Just before their lips met, Yugito noticed a note attached to Naruto's back. Ah, said Yugito before she decked the Naruto in front of her with a punch. Naruto grew a pained expression on his face before dispelling in a poof of smoke. Stupid clones. Yugito snagged the piece of paper that fell off the clone's back as Nibi decided to add her 2 cents. I don't really think it'd be cheating to do it with a clone of his. In fact, he could make a few clones and you could have a threesome or a foursome. Wait, he could make 1,000 of himself and that'd be. Yugito blushed a serious red as she cut the connection with her Biju off. That would be so weird. And it is cheating since the clones aren't Naruto. They are clones given their own consciousness. Meaning they aren't my Naruto, thought Yugito before adding. Well, maybe I could ask. And you should ask, said Matabi as Yugito nodded. Yugito's then shifted her head in surprise. I thought I cut the connection. Meh, what does this note say? Questioned Yugito in her mind before she read through it. Yugi-chan, glad you're up. I have a mission to do and I was hoping you'd come along with me. Ba-chan thinks it'll be good for you to get out of Konoha for a while. And after we're done, we'll have a 1-week reprieve in Kumo. So get your pretty little buns ready and meet me in the Hokage's office. Toodles. P.S. I think you smell nice. Yugito smiled at the letter before getting excited. Yugito quickly got dressed in her normal Kumo attire sans headband and packed for the upcoming trip. Yugito grabbed her pack before locking Naruto's apartment and performing a shunshin to the Hokage's office. Hokage Tower. Yugito arrived in Tsunade's office as she smiled seeing Naruto sitting in Tsunade's chair with his back to her. No one else was in the room outside of her and the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Yugito knew the trick behind his sensory ability and knew he could not sense her presence. Planning to sneak up and attack him, Yugito stopped as his voice permeated the air. I knew you'd be happy, said Naruto spinning around in the chair to see Yugito let out a huff at being found. How do you do that all the time? I thought you couldn't sense my presence. But you always manage to speak before I can surprise you. Honestly, I was wrong the last 3 times in doing that. But now you're here and so am I, said Naruto before appearing in front of Yugito. Naruto captured Yugito's lips in a sweet but short kiss before ending it and smiling. Good morning by the way. Yugito came down from the impromptu but sexy kiss as she grinned at the blonde before her. Yugito then lunged back at Naruto as she began to make out with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki since that small kiss wasn't enough. Naruto and Yugito began to battle for dominance again as Naruto once again won with illegal use of the hands. Picking Yugito up by her backside after grabbing it, Naruto placed her on Tsunade's desk. Just before things could get hot and heavy, a cough rang out that stopped the two groping and kissing Jinchuriki. Ahem, said Tsunade as Yugito and Naruto blushed. You can do that when this is your office in the future. Until then, I don't need the mess or image in my head. Unless you let me film it and I can make money off it. Yugito and Naruto's blush deepened before Naruto looked to think about actually allowing it. Naruto turned his head to see Yugito shake her head no before they heard another voice. Damn it, Haim, said Jiraiya as he made his presence known from the windowsill. It was just getting good. Why'd you have to ruin it? Tsunade looked at Jiraiya ready to say something before closing her eyes and walking over to her chair. Looking up at the two blondes, Yugito still on her desk with Naruto hunched over her, Tsunade spoke. Since you are all here, let's get started. Your mission is not an easy one, said Tsunade as Jiraiya stepped down from the window to lean on the wall behind her. You all will be going to Omegakure. Naruto perked up along with Yugito. Omegakure. I thought that place was closed off, questioned Naruto as Jiraiya nodded his head. It is. However, that's where my sources say the Akatsuki's home base is. They've already collected 6 of the 9 that they'll be coming for you both very soon. B-sama won't go down so easily, said Yugito before adding. But then again, who would have guessed they'd get this far? I'm guessing us going to aim is to try to bring the fight to them. Correct you are. Be warned, this is an S-rank mission and you will likely be facing 2 to 4 S-rank ninjas in the process. If you don't feel up to it, you can back out. Jiraiya was originally going to go at it alone but figured why not take backup since Akatsuki is still at least 7 members deep. Exactly, I'm not saying I couldn't take them but I'd rather be safer than sorry, said Jiraiya as his face took an unnatural seriousness. However, this is a very dangerous mission and like Tsunade said, if you don't want to risk it, do not come. Naruto looked at Yugito who looked back at him. Unspoken words were shared between the two as Naruto nodded his head. Naruto turned his head back to Jiraiya before flashing him a smile reminiscent of Jiraiya's first apprentice, Minato. Well, I can't let my sensei go on a mission like this alone. So, I'm definitely coming so that I can make sure you stay alive to shell out more wisdom to the youth, said Naruto as Jiraiya smiled. And Yugi-chan is coming because she wants to watch my back and make sure that I stay safe and not get over my head trying to take them all on alone. It'll be perfect. Especially considering you're a spy master, Yugi-chan is the best at espionage in Kumo, and I am just plain awesome. We'll be fine. Glad you're confident, brat, said Tsunade as Naruto nodded. Now get Yugito off my desk and head to the west gate. Jiraiya will meet you there in a second. I have something for him. Naruto was ready to fire off a comment trying to get at Tsunade wanting to speak with Jiraiya alone, but from her tone and the seriousness of the mission they were about to undertake, Naruto just nodded. Placing his hand on Yugito's thigh, the two were gone from the room in a shunshin. Tsunade let out a breath before she got ready to speak to Jiraiya. That notion halted as Jiraiya tapped a hand to her shoulder. No need to say it, Haim. I know, said Jiraiya as Tsunade smiled at her teammate. Plus, if you were to say something like that it'll only jinx that one of us may actually not come back. So let's not even go there. So what should I say? Questioned Tsunade as Jiraiya smiled to himself. How about a bet? Chirped Jiraiya with a grin. We all come back alive, I win and you go on a date with me. A proper date. There's no need to worry about if I cannot, we'll all be coming back. Tsunade looked up at Jiraiya, who looked back down at her. Seeing Tsunade nod her head, Jiraiya smiled. Then it's settled. I'll see you when I get back Haim, said Jiraiya as he jumped to the windowsill. Make sure you wear that black dress. You know the one I like. You better come back. All of you. For that black dress, I'd move a mountain, him. See you soon. Jiraiya was then gone in a shunshin. Please come back. You and Naruto are all I have left besides Shizune. 3 days later, Sasuke sat in a meditative pose in his family's home with his eyes closed. Sasuke had been like that for several minutes before he opened his eyes. His Sharingan was on as he looked to see a Root Anbu bowing before him. Sasuke Taicho, we have found missing Nin, Uchiha Itachi. Sasuke nodded his head before he noticed something off about the ninja. In the blink of an eye, Sasuke had a Chidori pierced through the ninja's chest that straightened the bowed ninja up to look Sasuke face to face. Taking off the Anbu's mask with his other hand, Sasuke saw a face he hadn't seen since right after the Chunin exams. The tear troughs on his face combined with the slashed headband and Sharingan, Sasuke's own eyes widened. Itachi. Seems you have gotten better, Sasuke-kun, said the now revealed Itachi. I guess it is time to settle this. That Itachi vanished into crows leaving Sasuke alone. I guess it is time, said Sasuke with his Mangekyo Sharingan on immediately. Sasuke's vision blurred slightly but he nevertheless walked out of his house ready for the events to come. The moment I've waited for since that night and since I failed after becoming a Chunin. This is it. And I'll be sure to come out victorious this time. Vanishing in a shunshin, Sasuke appeared beneath Konoha in Root's underground compound. Standing on one of the barren training grounds, Sasuke looked out to see Itachi stood there alone. So you've come, said Itachi before he turned to look at his little brother. Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan was out and on full display as his eyes pierced into his brother's Mangekyo Sharingan. So you have awoken the same eyes as me. No need for words. Explanations, questions, and statements can be said later, said Sasuke flowing through 7 hand seals as he spoke. All there is now is to fight. Sasuke molded chakra into his chest and in doing so, missed the small smile that adorned Itachi's face. Sasuke. Thought Itachi as his own chest puffed up in response to Sasuke. Kaiten. Gokaku no Jutsu fire style. Grand fireball technique, said the Uchiha brothers as they blew out large streams of fire toward one another. Omegakurt, does it always rain here? Questioned Yugito as she and Naruto stood on the outskirts of AIM. I mean, I understand that the village is literally named Village Hidden in the Rain, but it's like a non-stop downpour going on. We've seen this village for at least an hour now and the rain has not stopped in the slightest. Yugito was correct. Omegakure was raining constantly, it seemed. The thing Naruto noticed about the village though was the fact it looked more industrial. Look at the buildings, Yugi-chan. It looks high-tech, said Naruto as Yugito nodded her head. And since we're approaching the village, may as well get with our disguises. Disguises? Questioned Yugito as Naruto nodded his head. Well, I guess that makes sense. We have no weapons because Jiraiya-sama said there would be a full check of our person. So what are our disguises? Are you going to be Menma, the writer, again? No, said Naruto with a smile on his face. I'm going to be Mr. Matabi to your Mrs. Kitsune Kurama. What do you say? As Naruto asked that question, he pulled out a pretty engagement ring that held a beautiful diamond in its center. Oh Kurama-kun, you shouldn't have, said Yugito as she held out her left hand to allow Naruto to slide the ring on. Matabi then proceeded to kiss her husband, before the two embarked closer to AIM. Well, I'm sure Sensei will get in however he does it. He definitely can't go through the gate since he never changes his appearance. Now it's up to us to get past the gate without being recognized, said Naruto as he held Yugito's hand. I'm sure we can manage that. Yugito looked at Naruto to see him with black hair, black square-rimmed glasses, black contact lenses to hide his blue eyes, and makeup on to disguise his whisker marks. Naruto looked like a totally different person. Though the same could be said about Yugito. Her hair was down and went all the way to her lower back. She was now a brown-haired woman with brown eyes and had freckles on her face. Mr. and Mrs. Kurama Kitsune, said Yugito before nodding to Naruto, and the two walked into the rain of AIM to embark on their mission. It was time to face Akatsuki and they wouldn't even know what hit them if it was up to the two Jinchuriki. Highest tower in AIM, earlier, looking out over his village was the leader of Akatsuki. His red hair was damp from standing out in the rain and his purple eyes were shining brightly in the dim light cast by the cloudy sky. Walking up behind the man in an Akatsuki cloak like his was a woman with blue hair. She had flawless skin, despite being in her 40s, which made her look no older than 20. Nagato, said the woman as the leader turned around at the mentioning of his name. How do you think things will fare with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki? I heard his power has risen immensely. Even the Nibi could pose a problem. Nagato turned toward Konan and the gleam in his eyes was daunting. Do not worry, Konan. No matter how powerful the Kyuubi has gotten, said Nagato as the tiny pupil in his eyes widened slightly. He cannot contend with the power of a god. And you as my angel shall easily be able to handle the Nibi. It's only a matter of time that we capture the Hachibi and can finally go after him. Understood, said Conan before looking out the window. I wonder how Kisame, Itachi, Hidan, Kakazu, Deidara, and Tobi will fare against the Hachibi. He is a perfect Jinchuriki with years of experience with his Biju. Not to mention having to face all of Kumo if they don't make it quick. Nagato nodded his head before answering. That is true. But we only need one of them to survive to handle getting the Jinchuriki ready for the ceiling. And since our job is almost complete, even if we lose several members we will be fine. The only ones who can stop us are the Jinchuriki or cages. And by the time they really realize how dangerous our plan is, it'll be too late. Doesn't it bother you that they haven't attempted to do something? Questioned Conan as Nagato shook his head no. Not really. The world still believes Akatsuki started in Kurigakure and that Omegakure is still ruled by the tight-fisted Hanzo. We shall be fine here. It's one of the best covers in the world. Conan nodded her head before looking out over her village. Nagato did the same as the two just stared out at the steady downpour that covered it. You know Nagato. Maybe one day you could stop the rain, said Conan as Nagato shook his head. I can't do that. My chakra is in this rain. It is Omegakure's sensory defense and I need a constant downpour to find out if anyone has entered our village that could pose a problem. If so, I'll dispose of them. Conan was about to argue that no one has entered AIM in a while before Nagato jolted slightly. What's wrong? Questioned Conan as Nagato formed a small smile. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki is here, said Nagato picking up the powerful Jinchuriki the moment he stepped into the rain. And he brought the Nibi and Jiraiya sensei. Seems like we'll be able to take our targets now and be rid of the only man who has come close to stopping us in the past. Be ready Conan. This is the beginning of the end. Thanks for reading another installment of the Lost Files is below. If you keep reading, hope you enjoy its smiley face. Omake. Naruyugi, The Lost Files, Taming Your Biju, Stop Being a Baby. You're going to do this, said Yugito as she dragged a reluctant Naruto behind her as she walked. Yugito took Naruto across a lake as she walked through a waterfall. Walking through that waterfall, a gigantic room greeted the two Jinchuriki. The room was full of statues and looked like a throne room. But Yugi-chan. I would love to kick Kurama's ass any day of the week, said Naruto as Yugito continued to drag him along. But that was before he got the other half of his chakra. He's more powerful than before and he was already considered the strongest in the world. Yugito stopped walking as Naruto stood up from being dragged to stand in front of her. Yugito then brought Naruto in for a searing kiss that left the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki dazed. Yugito then smiled at the dazed boy after ending it. And you're strong too, Naruto-kun. With your Mokuden and not to mention that sage mode. Who's to say you're not the strongest man alive? Questioned Yugito as Naruto looked at her contemplatively. Plus, you want to succeed just like him. Except your want is much higher. Naruto looked at Yugito questionably. And what would that be? What could beat his want for freedom? Questioned Naruto as Yugito smiled slyly at him. Yugito then leaned in to whisper into Naruto's ear. Yugito finished speaking as she leaned back to look at Naruto. Yeah, I'm whipping ass today. Let's do this. Naruto was already at the other end of the room accessing the secret Jinchuriki room Yugito told him about. Yugito laughed at how fast he moved and quickly went over to join him. Stepping inside the secret room, Naruto found himself in a vast but empty room. It almost looked like a room in a mental asylum but inside of just white walls. The room had colors of all kinds spread out like a tie-dye shirt. Whoa, said Naruto before turning his head to see Yugito come into the room also. Yugito shut the door before smiling. Right, this is the place, said Yugito as Naruto nodded. Just like we talked about. You beat Dark Naruto and now it is time to face Kurama. You have the key to your seal. Naruto nodded once more as Yugito continued. Great, then you are all set. And don't worry, if Kurama were to win and break free, he'll be trapped in this room until someone comes to free him. I doubt Kurama would just wait here. He knows how to get in and out of this room I bet, said Naruto. Plus, I'm not going to lose anyway. I got this. You weren't saying that 2 minutes ago. That was then. And this is now, said Naruto closing his eyes as he sat in a lotus position. And now, I have a Biju to face. See you in second. Not a second after saying that, Naruto opened his eyes as he noticed Kurama napping behind the cage. Naruto waited a second before one of Kurama's large eyes opened. You really want to do this now? Questioned Kurama as Naruto didn't speak, only choosing to shunshin next to the seal on Kurama's cage. If and when you lose, I will be set free and you'll likely die. Are you sure you want to risk that possibility? You already have access to my chakra, so why bother? Naruto smirked at Kurama. While I do have access to your chakra. That's fine and is more than enough, said Naruto placing a finger inside the sealed paper. My father didn't leave me a key to a door to not unlock it. And I want to fully experience being a Jinchuriki. Just like Kurabi-sama. Naruto ripped the seal tag off and jumped back down in front of the cage as Kurama grinned slightly. You might end up like him after this fight. A rapping baboon. You're a rapping baboon, said Naruto as Kurama and himself pointed at each other comically. Ha. You finally did it back. What the hell? Why did I even do that? Seems I am becoming more like this kid. Damn, Gigi was right. But why did it have to be this kid? Naruto lifted his shirt as his fingers glowed blue with kanji. Grabbing his stomach, Naruto's actual seal appeared and Naruto twisted it 180 degrees. In doing so, the spiral mark began to unwind until it disappeared. At the same time as the seal on Naruto's body, the lock on Kurama's door did the same. Naruto was holding up a block figuring Kurama would get in a cheap shot, but it never came. Naruto stood dumbfounded. I thought you would attack me immediately. I thought about it, kid. There's no need for us to fight, said Kurama as Naruto's eyes widened. At least not now. Especially considering those two would interrupt my ass whooping. Those two. Yes, as two, Naruto-chan. A soft and feminine voice behind Naruto got his eyes to widen. Naruto didn't want to turn around in case his mind or Kurama was playing tricks on him. It isn't a trick, Naruto-chan. Turn around. Let me see my baby boy's face. Naruto still didn't move as Kurama rolled his eyes. It is true, brat. They placed chakra in your seal similar to how Hashirama and Mito did. Though their chakra probably correlated directly to your seal. Possibly to protect you from me, said Kurama as Naruto nodded his head seeing how that made sense. Kurama nodded back as he began to recede into his open cage but left Naruto with a few more words. We'll discuss our future later. I want to fight for my freedom but for now, I'll grant you access to my chakra and abilities. Enjoy your moment with your parents. Naruto nodded toward his Biju in thanks before he turned around. Standing there before him were his parents, Minato and Kushina. Dad. Mom, said Naruto as he looked at his parents. You guys are really here. Minato looked at the slightly teary face of Naruto. Well, we are technically just chakra imprints but you, started Minato only to be cut off as Naruto came barreling into the two of them. Naruto hugged his two parents tightly as they just conceded to the strong young man and hugged him back. I've always wanted to meet you guys, said Naruto before stepping back and wiping the tear from his eye. I mean I know you guys aren't real but I've met chakra imprints before and they're the closest to the real thing as it can get. At least from my perspective. Minato nodded his head and looked at his son with a slightly serious face. Naruto, there are things we need to tell you. And questions I'm sure you want to know, said Minato as Naruto shook his head. No, I don't want to talk about anything bad or ask any questions of, why you didn't do this, over, this, said Naruto with a smile. I don't want the only chance to see my parents be them trying to explain all the bad stuff and pressing matters to me. I know about the masked man already. And I don't care why you choose to seal the QB in me rather than another option. I just want to know about you both. That's all. Kushina and Minato smiled at Naruto before nodding their heads at his request. It seemed Naruto was ready for this moment to happen and already had a plan that he wouldn't take no as an answer for. Before Kushina could speak though, Naruto vanished from his mind. Naruto-chan, questioned Kushina seeing her son just vanish. Not a second after saying that, Naruto came back into view with a girl. Naruto-kun, why did you drag me in here? Questioned Yugito as she looked up at Naruto with confusion. I thought you wanted to face the QB alone. I do. It's just, started Naruto before he peered his eyes over to Yugito's right. Yugito followed Naruto's eyes as her own eyes widened. Hi, said Kushina with a smile and wave. Or Naruto's parents. Well, chakra constructs but still his parents. Oh, I wasn't ready. Hi. It's nice to meet you, said Yugito as she got warm smiles back from the two parents. Right, Yugi-chan, these are my parents, Minato and Kushina. Mom and Dad, this is my girlfriend, Yugito, said Naruto as the three of them waved at each other. It's a pleasure to meet you too, said Kushina before adding. Even though I've seen everything from here in the seal about Naruto's life. Yugito smiled before realizing something. Wait, does that mean that you saw us? Minato cut Yugito off before she could continue. Luckily, only the PG moments filter through. What moments are we talking about? Questioned Kushina, still not understanding. And then it hit her. Wait, you mean to tell me that you two have already had sex? Naruto-chan. Right. How about we get more acquainted? Questioned Naruto, ending that conversation before it could begin. I'm sure you guys don't have much time, so I feel like we should start now. And we will treat it as if you guys were still alive. And I just happen to know the perfect place. Naruto's mind shifted slightly as a building formed right before their eyes. A sweet aroma filled the air that Kushina knew well. Ikiraku's, it seems my baby is more like me than I thought, said Kushina, smiling before the four of them sat and ate. Rather than speak about pressing matters like Akatsuki, the masked man, or anything shinobi related, the four of them just sat and talked with one another. 30 minutes passed in Naruto's mind in a flash as the four of them walked out of Ikiraku's together, Naruto and Kushina rubbing their food babies. I can't believe that's how you both fell in love, said Yugito as Kushina continued to rub her belly but still nod at the Kumo Kunoichi. I don't even think that moment is in the history books of Kumo. Well, it wasn't sanctioned by your Raikage. Apparently, they were three jonin who fell out of favor with him and decided to act out on their own to try to capture Kushina-chan. But my dad's a badass and it didn't happen, said Naruto, sharing a smirk with his dad, who while humble couldn't help but get an ego boost hearing that from his son. Sparks began to flutter from Naruto's parents and it didn't escape his notice. Your time is coming to an end. Kushina noticed the sparks as well and gave a sad smile. So it seems, said Kushina before grabbing her son in a hug. Thank you, Naruto-chan. Naruto returned the hug as Minato even joined in on the mother and son hug. I don't want you guys to go. Even though I know there is no way to keep you guys here without your chakra. I still don't want it to end. It'll be fine, Naruto-kun. You've grown into a young man who I am proud to call my son, said Minato with a proud smile on his face. And even though I wasn't there to teach you anything, show you anything, or even just be there, you've become everything I've ever wanted my son to become. And I'm just thankful for that. Everything Minato says goes tenfold from me, said Kushina teary-eyed as she hugged her son a little tighter. Thank you for being born to us. Thank you for allowing us to be your parents despite the circumstances we left you in. Thank you for just being you. Yugito looked at the scene with a smile before noticing the three of them look at her. Oh, I couldn't, said Yugito as the three beckoned her to join. Walking slowly over to the three of them, Yugito was brought into the hug. Despite being in this seal, we've seen Naruto's life. And we know how much you mean to him, started Minato as Kushina continued for him. And since I won't be around to take care of him, I'll have to ask that you continue to. I hope you can do that for me. Of course, said Yugito as Kushina smiled at the girl. While that happened, Minato and Naruto looked over at Kurama. Oi, shouted Naruto at the large Biju. Get your furry behind over here too. You're a part of this. I think I'll pass, said Kurama as he disappeared further into the area that was his cage. Humans. Always touch and feel and stuff. He'll come around eventually, said Minato as he and Kushina began to fade away faster. Goodbye Naruto-kun. Make sure you continue to work hard and become Hokage. I know you can do it. Just before fading away, Kushina left Naruto and Yugito with a few more words. And I want at least 4 grandkids, Datbane, shouted Kushina as she and Minato both disappeared in a flutter of sparks. Yugito blushed as Naruto laughed nervously. Thank you, Tu-chan and Ka-chan, thought Naruto before he and Yugito disappeared out of his mind. Opening their eyes, the two were sitting together in the Jinchuriki room. Well, that was an experience, said Naruto as Yugito nodded. At least I don't have to face Kurama just yet. And I even gained access to his powers. Check it. A vibrant orange Jinchuriki cloak shrouded Naruto as he smiled. Naruto also noticed that his seal was now visible on his body and Yugito said his eyes turned orange as well. Naruto's smile grew when he noticed that there were no tails anymore. Holy crap, said Naruto, feeling how much more powerful Kurama's chakra was when it was not filtered through the seal and given to him full blast. Kurama, you are amazing. And you know this, Mon, said Kurama in Naruto's head. Kurama then looked up in surprise at what he just said. Oh no. I am becoming more like him. And with the seal open, it's melding our chakras and personalities together, thought Kurama before he put his head on his front paws. I should have just kicked his ass and been freed of him. Now I have to deal with this for a little while longer. Oh, don't be like that, Kurama-kun, came the voice of the Nibi, and she sat next to her fellow Biju. Trust me. You'll like being melded with a human. It's definitely fun. Even Gyuki likes his Jinchuriki, and that guy is a pain in the ass. While the two Biju talked, Naruto had been flaunting Kurama's chakra as he sped around the room. Naruto then ran toward Yugito, letting his cloak fade before scooping her up and holding her in front of him. I'll have to get used to moving that fast and being so strong, said Naruto before getting kissed hard by Yugito. The kiss sent them both to the floor with her on top of him. Ending the kiss, Naruto looked at Yugito in surprise. What was that for? Just the preamble to what I told you would happen if you gained full access to your Biju's chakra. Yugito then began to kiss Naruto's neck as she spoke in between kisses. And, you're just going to lay back and enjoy it. Naruto just smiled to himself as Yugito continued her ministrations. Seems we're getting started early on those grandkids, Ka-chan, thought Naruto as he was in for the time of his life. Feeling Yugito bite him, Naruto looked at her to see her eyes were green and yellow with no pupils, signaling she was using some of Matadabi's chakra. Can you hang, Naruto-kun? Asked Yugito in a sultry voice as she leaned in to kiss Naruto on the lips. Yugito retracted from the kiss as Naruto now looked at her with a predatory look in his eyes. That look only seemed sexier as he had channeled some of Kurama's chakra and his eyes turned red and slit. Oh, it's on, said Naruto before it got hot and heavy in the empty room. End. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more what ifs and support the author. See you guys in the next video.